Alright guys, let's continue. So the next thing we want to do is to retrieve the messages. Before we get to that, however, I'd like us to go to our profile class and include a little bit of logic. So like I said, we don't want people to message themselves, and the way to make sure they don't is by comparing their user ID to the ID of the person they're trying to message. So in my profile class, all I need is to add a Firebase auth object, and I see I didn't put these as private, so I'll just add that to be consistent. All of this can be private. Okay, so a Firebase auth object, which I will initialize down here. Auth is equals to Firebase auth.get instance, and then from this we can get the current user ID. So string current UID is equals to auth.get current user.get UID. Okay, so now we have the current user ID in this variable and the user ID of the person being messaged in this variable, and all we need is a simple if statement to see whether they're the same. So right above the click listener for the message button, if UID dot equals current user ID, current UID, then message dot set visibility to be invisible. That's simple. So now the message button will disappear. So I will leave it at that and test this later, and now we can go on to retrieving the messages. So for this first part, I'll just set things up. I'll just work on the layout and such things, and I'll leave the Java, most of the Java for the next one. So here in the activity layout, the first thing I need is a recycler view. So recycler view, here it is, and I'll add it to the very top, and then we need to scale it. So first I'll click it and drag it so it's not covering our widgets at the bottom, and then I will change its height to 400 dp. That's a bit short. Let's use 470. Okay, good. So that it just covers the screen alone and doesn't cover the action bar either. Alright, that's that. Now we can give it an ID, and the ID will be messages, and we can initialize it. So private recycler view messages, and all the way down here I will say messages is equals to find view by ID r.id.messages. Okay, next thing, I am going to create a custom layout for the messages so that they appear in a certain way in this list that we've just created. So for that we'll need a new layout resource file. So right click this, new layout resource file, and I'm going to call it single message. And change this to relative layout. Okay. Alright, so to this layout of ours, the first thing that I'll add is a circle image view, and I'll put this as 36 dp. And this as 36 dp as well. The ID can be MSG avatar, and we'll need to give it a source. So source will be at drawable/nif, our default. Okay, next thing is the message itself. So text view, and go right next to this image. So MSG text, and there's quite a lot more to do to it, but I'll leave it at that for now. That's fine. What I can change though is the size, just for now, just so I can see it properly. So text size, I'll put it as 20 dp. Let's take a look. Maybe larger, 30 dp. Okay, that's fine. We'll probably change it later, but that's enough for now. Okay, now let's give this some padding. Padding all, let's start with just 10 dp. Oh, no. Instead, let's go to layout margin, all 10 dp. There we go. Good. So now there's some space around the image. And for the text view, layout margin, I'll just do for the top 10 dp. Yeah. Okay, maybe that's a bit much. And I think I like how that looks. So as always, feel free to do yours in a different way. And now relative layout can wrap contents. Layout height, wrap content, and let's see how that looks. Yeah, it looks good. It's now covering just what needs to be covered. Okay, now the next thing is I want to give this text view a bit of a background, so it looks a bit like a speech bubble as we're used to in most chat apps. So let's right click, drawable this time, and create a new drawable resource file, and I'm going to call it msg bg, message background. Then okay, and I'll go immediately to the text. Right now it says selector here. I'm going to change this to shape. So within this, all I'll do is I'll give it a color. So say solid, and I'll say Android.color is color primary. And next, I want to give it a bit of a rounded corners. So corners, radius, and let's say 30. No, that's a bit much. 15 dp, and close that. Okay, let's take a look. Yeah, that seems fine. So this will be the background of our text. So now we can go back to single message. We can go to text view, and if we type background, you can choose at drawable, msg bg. Let's take a look. That's looking good. We'll change the text to white so we can see it properly. So again, just click this, and we go to text color and change that to white. Okay, that's good. And what else? I think that's all. Perhaps I give this more padding. Let's try padding, see what will happen. If I say all and I say perhaps 10 dp. Okay, yeah, that makes it so that the letters aren't touching the edges of the background, which is more aesthetically pleasing, I think. In which case we can even reduce the text size a little. Text size 25. Yes, I think that's as close to perfect as I'm going to get it. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to go to the relative layout and give it an ID. Single MSG layout, and I'm going to leave it at that. So like I said, I'll do the coding in the next video, but the one thing I can do is I can create our message class. So since we'll be getting in a list of messages, it will be good to have a custom class to hold that data. So new Java class, and I'll just call it message, and then it's just going to match the database exactly, just as we did for user. So let's take a look at that. Here it is. Here's our messages. So message, scene, time, and type. And this is a string, a boolean, and a long. This isn't an integer, it's too large to be an int, so a long, and finally text. Okay, so string message and type, that's the first two, boolean, scene, and finally long time. Okay, and now alt insert will allow us to create a constructor with everything, and then we also have to create an empty constructor, so public message, and just leave it like that. And then finally getters and setters, so alt insert getter and setter for all, and that's it. Alright, so that's all we'll do for now. We can leave the rest for the next video.